everything's changed. Men fall from the sky. The gods hurl thunderbolts. Innocents die. That's how it starts. The fever, the rage, the feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel.
Hey, what's up team? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology. This video is on Batman, from Batman vs. Superman as an ISTJ, and how he goes from good Batman to bad Batman and in the grip of his inferior function, Extraverted Intuition. So I'm going to be, explaining it a little bit in both ways, the good side and the bad side, and then how you can grow as an ISTJ from watching Batman mess up horribly and kill all those people. So let's talk about that a little bit. Starting out, I'll go through the dominant function, Introverted Sensing, talk about what it is a little bit, and then the auxiliary function, Extraverted Thinking, how that makes the good Batman, and then going from there to the third and fourth functions, Introverted Feeling, and then Extraverted Intuition, and how that just kind of ruins everything. All right? They are good, they serve their purposes, but if it's too unbalanced and you don't have that awareness of what's going on, that's why bad things happen. That's why your psyche starts screaming out for you to do things that are uncharacteristic of yourself, okay? So starting out, the ISTJ in general is a kind of like a stereotypical explanation here. I know everybody has their little differences, but is someone who is looking to the past to guide them and using this kind of cool-headed approach to make decisions, to make really logical decisions, rational decisions for the safety of humanity and protecting against these unknown threats, kind of stabilizing the world logically and going step by step into the future. So you see good Batman as kind of embodying that, someone who has this really level-headed potential.
So, last night was productive?
Nope. It's too low level. He knew nothing. This is a man who knows things. Anatoly Kanayazev. He's Russian. Contracts all over the globe, but he's based out of the port of Gotham. Weapons and human trafficking.
So the white Portuguese is a Russian. That's the theory.
No. The theory is that the Russian will lead me to the man himself.
ISTJs are people who specialize in things. They're not a generalist. They don't just try to do all these random stuff. They're trying to pick stuff that are really important to them and build their lives around that. They shape the outer world to themselves and kind of bring out all this data and information and things that are related to that world. And they share it with other people, or they just kind of surround themselves with it and make that their lifestyle. So you can see that with Batman in how bats and fighting against injustice are extremely important to him, and he surrounds himself in that. He lives in that world and then takes that out to the other people and tries to save humanity and stuff like that. And what I was saying though about training and specialization, he's extremely highly trained in martial arts and practical crime fighting. He's got chemistry and hunting, manhunting, stealth and disguise, criminology, forensics, healing, gymnastics, escape, artistry. I know it might not sound like he's specialized in it, but crime fighting. I'm going to learn everything I can about crime fighting. And then he just kind of practices until he's good at it. And he's completely capable of just firing those neurons and those pathways and just being a professional at those things. So you see SITE, like the character, the first two functions of Batman, making him realistic, making him level-headed. He's a little guarded, yeah, but he fights tirelessly to protect the world against injustice, especially Gotham. But you know, if he could, he would expand from there too. And you also have this idea of the facade of Bruce Wayne, which is very different from the way that ISTJs want to live and naturally see themselves. Bruce Wayne is this playboy philanthropist. He's irresponsible. He's self-absorbed. And it's completely different than that logical, grounded, rooted person who is trying to maintain that day-to-day continuity that Dario Nardi says. So that's a mix of the good Batman and Bruce Wayne, okay? And that works out really well. But in this movie, just crap happens all over the place. And that's okay because we can learn a lesson from it. So let's go through Batman versus Superman through kind of the plot a little bit and see what went wrong and how an ISTJ can fix that if they're in that position. Obviously, it's going to be on a different scale. I hope it's going to be on a different scale. But there are still metaphors and analogies that you can use in your own life. So the key point here, though, is that everything bad came from fear and emotion running the show. Fear comes from extroverted intuition, and emotion comes from introverted feeling, which I'll explain and clarify a bit later. But these two running the show is where you go away from your standard healthy ISTJ side. And it's fine when both fear and emotion are being used to support and serve his strengths, but when they are in control, bad things happen. So introverted sensing is about doing your duty. This is a behavior that comes out of it. Doing your duty and investing in stabilizing your surroundings. Making sure that things are reliable around you and trusted. You trust and compare known precedents and expected things, like what will happen based on previous examples, to what is going on now. So you see what's happening now, you go back in and you kind of cycle through it and you're like, okay, this is what needs to change in order to stabilize the situation, or this is where things are going because things are stabilized, because everything is working out as it should. So it's comparing to your past and seeing how it works, okay? And you check in with your past in this way to look for consistency as well. You don't want things to be random. If every time you went to open a door, you had to relearn how to use a door handle, the world would suck. Things would just be all over the place and you wouldn't know how to adapt. You wouldn't know how to act with anything. I think that was a Lenore Thompson example. Not really sure. And the healthy SJ temperament, ISTJ, or even ESTJ, ESFJ, whatever it is, they are diligent, meticulous, and I feel that they really carry the world and a lot more weight than most on their shoulders. Like, they are super focused on doing their duty and usually doing more than their duty in order to make sure that things go well and work out. You know, they can trust themselves to do it because they have those mental resources or whatever and that focus to take care of it. Whereas other people, you don't know. because they're unpredictable.
Books are knowledge, and knowledge is power. And I am... no. No, what am I? What was I saying? No. The bittersweet pain among men is having knowledge with no power, because that is paradoxical, and thank you for coming.
Okay, so let's talk about extroverted thinking now, the auxiliary function. So we saw at the start, you know, he's standard Batman, doing his job, protecting Gotham, very grounded. And extroverted thinking is about taking logical and logically appropriate actions in order to maintain those standards from introverted sensing. So as an auxiliary function, it's supporting the dominant function, and it's acting in logical ways, objective, rational ways. Extroverted thinking checks in with different measurements and evidence in order to reach goals. So you set a goal, and then you either work towards it or backwards from it so that you can work towards it. Okay, so it's like setting up all these little checkpoints that you need to get to in order to reach that goal. Like, are we doing it in the right time? Are things cost efficient? And, you know, all these measurements that I suck with. And a lot of extroverted thinking is about also noticing what is missing, noticing inconsistencies. So you can see how that works with introverted sensing for the ISTJ to make them very focused on maintaining the day-to-day in a logical way and not just letting things go all willy-nilly, like Joker probably would, right? Also, extroverted thinking likes to encourage the user to make strong plans and contingencies. And you can see this actually in the movie when he is fighting Superman, like on the rooftop, like he puts the bat signal out there and Superman lands, and, you know, Batman's just standing there and he starts backing up. He knows that Superman's going to follow him and walk forward, and boom, trap 1. Okay, that's not enough. I have 3 more different traps, okay, to deal with this as a contingency. And he keeps kind of triggering Superman and having these traps go off in order to make Superman kind of let his guard down a bit, because he knows he can walk it off. Like, bullets are not going to stop him, these sound waves, whatever, you know, they're not going to stop Superman. And so he lets his guard down, and then Batman hits him with the real weapon, right? This is a logical approach to it as well, you know. I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, the weapons that Batman uses are very highly functional weapons. They function properly. They're not like random missiles that shoot out and like lasers that cut everything open. That's not as good as something that he can tactically use and use it for functionality. Also, he uses, as an extroverted thinker, he uses objective decisions to make sense of and logically bring order to the world. He even says,
I bet your parents taught you that you mean something. That you're here for a reason. My parents taught me a different lesson. Dying in the gutter for no reason at all. They taught me the world only makes sense if you force it to.
this is what extroverted thinking does. It makes sense of the world by trying to force standards and try to measure those standards to make things work for you, basically. So from now on, let's talk about the introverted feeling and extroverted intuition side of the ISTJ. These are the tertiary and inferior functions, and how they just cause Batman to go nutty.
Why did you say that name? Martha, why did you say that name?
Stop! Please, stop!
Why did you say that name?
It's his mother's name! It's his mother's name.
So starting out, introverted feeling is a decision-making function, just like extroverted thinking is, but it's on the other side of that spectrum, and it's about guiding your actions by what you think is good. Good, like moralistically good, despite the external systems and external opinion. Like this, from my own experience and from how I understand the world, my emotional blueprint of the world, this is the right thing to do, universally, so I'm going to do that. It doesn't always work like that, but that's kind of the goal of it. Sometimes people mess up. As an introverted feeling dominant, I've messed up, okay? But I hold on to that like with an iron grip for the rest of my life, trying to guide my decisions a little bit better. But as this is a tertiary function, so it's at that level 10, that 10-year-old version, right? It has less mastery time into it. Okay, it just hasn't been used as much, and it doesn't have that experience. So introverted feeling is kind of like your conscience. It guides you on what to do, what is the good thing, the right choice, not the correct choice in a logical understanding. It's not this is correct or incorrect. It's this is right or wrong. This is good or bad. And it's internal motivation kind of based on your past and who you are as a person, as a character, your identity. And it weighs things based on importance, personal importance, and the value attached to it, which you kind of see from other people's perspectives as well sometimes. And for him, this comes out with protecting the world against bullies and people that are bigger than him and stronger than him. When he was a kid, his parents were shot, right? They died. He was helpless. So now that is something that obviously is going to stick with him and be something that's a very important driver for his identity and what is the right thing to do in the world. And so this is why he fights against Superman. He has his opinion that Superman is a bully and is going to, wreak havoc on the world. And Superman even says,
most of the world doesn't share your opinion, Mr. Wayne.
Maybe it's the Gotham City in me, and we just have a bad history with freaks dressed like clowns.
This is why this is an unhealthy tertiary function side. It's stubborn. It doesn't move. It's just, this is my idea. I'm not going to vet it with any of these other sources, and you're a bad guy, you're a bully, I'm going to fight against that. I'm gonna get justice. So you see how it's like, it's not the appropriate way of interacting. Also, the movie here, at this point, when, essentially he's in his introverted feeling side, the movie itself begins to be illogical. Like, there's the time-traveling Flash and these dreams of, like, big winged beasts and stuff, and it's just, they actually cut out different parts of the movie that they should have found a way to keep in. Like, it's all over the place. It's illogical. It doesn't really make sense. And also, Batman is trying to kill Superman because Superman killed people. And in that journey to do that, Batman kills a bunch of people, like 20 people, which is also very uncharacteristic of Batman. Apparently he does sometimes kill people in different story arcs and stuff, but he tries really hard not to. This is unhealthy. This is mad unhealthy. And he's inflexible. He's killing people. He's branding people. Like, this is not healthy ISTJ, good old Batman. This is all over the place. And he destroys everyone without a care because he thinks that he's protecting and stabilizing the world. So he's in this loop of introverted sensing and introverted feeling. Like, I'm going to do my duty, maintain the continuity of the world, stabilize everything, right? And in order to do that, I'm going to use my emotional connection to my past and hating Superman to drive me. And it's just like, there's no proper planning and looking out of yourself at the world because there's no extroverted function. You need extroverted thinking to balance, right? You can't just live all introverted or all extroverted. It doesn't work out like that. Bad things happen. And he feels also that he's the only one that's capable of grounding Superman and pulling him down and stopping this wild, chaotic potential. And so from there, we go into extroverted intuition. This is the inferior function, the polar opposite of introverted sensing. We talked about introverted sensing as realistic and logical and practical and kind of, more grounded, right? But extroverted intuition is the opposite of that. So it's about seeing options, seeing possibilities, potentials, kind of the standard definition of creativity, just imagining new, different things, and it's shaking things up in order to keep things from being too predictable and too bland, and allowing you to see different perspectives and see different sides of things. But it's not in this long-term style like introverted intuition would be, but it's what's happening now, how can I change things now? And I think also a lot of his weapons do kind of come from this side. They're practical, they're super practical, but they're inventive. There is a bit of creativity within that. Also, the SI and NE function, so under stress, you're going to be going to your inferior function or holding on way too tight to your dominant function, which is, just as bad if you don't temper it with the other ones. So under stress, you start to fight change by hanging on to your introverted sensing traditions and the roles that you play and you feel that other people should play, and laws to try to force cohesion, to try to force Superman to be on the same level as everybody else so that nobody is able to do things that are unexpected.
This is how a democracy works. We talk to each other. We act by the consent of the governed, sir.
And also he blames himself for the group's failure. And apparently a lot of ISTJs can get into this mode when bad things happen. A lot of their identity is about doing the right thing because that's what you're supposed to do. And when you can't do the right thing, then you feel that it's your fault in a lot of ways. And he blames himself for the group's failure by saying,
I failed him in life. I won't fail him in death. Help me find the others like you.
Perhaps they don't want to be found.
They will. And they'll fight. We have to stand together.
So he's really taken it to heart at the end of the movie. But the rest of the time, no. And also, he's stuck in this kind of bad, restrictive mindset and in these bad habits, which is something that can come out of not having your auxiliary function working for you. So you're holding on too tightly to what has worked in the past, despite it possibly not working right now. It might not be the best choice right now. But if you don't have a healthy extroverted perspective, then you're going to continue to hold on to that, and bad things continue to happen. This is a running theme with this movie, isn't it? Extroverted intuition as a inferior function brings out a lot of times catastrophizing, which is imagining the worst possible situation that could happen, considerably worse than how it is right now. And it's because you're afraid of the randomness, you're afraid of the chaos and the possibilities, the options, because you don't have anything that you can ground the outer world to. And this comes out as him being afraid that everything is out of his control. He sees the possibilities of destruction from an outsider, from an alien from another world, and he decides that he needs to fight against it with no rational perspective. He's just going on that idea that this man could kill us all. I need to fight against it. Okay, I'm gonna fight against it. And he doesn't plan like strategically like he normally does, and his emotions are all caught up in his past and fear in general. And so he's fighting something he doesn't understand because he's not allowing himself to make sense of it based on his fear and his idea of morality alone. And his idea of morality is skewed. And so he has no proof, he's not realistic, and he's just gathering up emotional fuel to try to fight against a god. And so his complete focus is on that fear and that chaos. And good Batman would not do that. Good Batman, properly minded Batman, would use fear as his ally. That's his whole thing. He puts fear into bad people by his suit and his voice and his presence and the images that come about with Batman. But it's being used against him now, right? So it's inverted, and which is what we're talking about right now. ISTJ, we're talking about the bottom two functions. And also, he says that about Superman, he says,
he has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. And we have to destroy him.
But he is not our enemy.
Not today. 20 years in Gotham, Alfred. We've seen what promises are worth. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way?
If there's a 99% chance that things will work out, isn't that the higher percentage? I mean, why would you go against that 1%? Well, because you're weighing that 1% a lot heavier because of extroverted intuition as your inferior function, and you're fighting that catastrophizing. How does one return, from the depths of the grip and the loop and all this other stuff? Well, you got to go back to your auxiliary function. And for the ISTJ, it's extroverted thinking. And extroverted thinking is doing what is logically correct and organizing the world with that and approaching your goals by making sense of the measurements and the empirical evidence and things. So doing that instead of or despite emotional issues and your personal connection and your egoic attachment to your personal values is the key. And so the ISTJ's strengths are in their dominant and auxiliary function. But you need to be connected still to your third and fourth function. And those are the, vulnerable, weaker, kind of, in some ways more flexible, in some ways less flexible sides. And it depends on your awareness and how you're using it. They need to be there to serve the dominant and auxiliary functions of introverted sensing, extroverted thinking. And so basically the idea here is don't be a solo crime fighter trying to protect the world, like all by yourself. That does not work unless you're a god, and even then doesn't quite work. Or somebody from another planet. And so Batman actually would have probably destroyed the world if he managed to piss off Superman enough. Which is not the logical, rational, objective, correct choice. No. He took on way more than he should have. And he was doing it out of, I guess, like hubris and without thinking if it was truly the correct choice. And if it's the correct choice, then it should be the morally good choice, the right choice. If you're grounded and if you're in the right mindset. And so he could have easily, I think, used his mind, used his intellect to ally with Superman and to keep check on him instead of trying to fight him instantly without proof. Like, he could have talked to the dude. Another idea here is you don't have to do things just because the public wants you to. Introverted sensing as a dominant function also brings with it this idea that like the world and stability is relying on me. So I need to do all this stuff. I need to do more than my fair share. And he tries to do that, and it tires him out. It wears him out. You're not responsible for doing everything. Even if you have the mental or material resources to do it. Sometimes you need to step back and let other people do their thing and just kind of watch how things turn out. And you'll see that it's not complete chaos. It's not, destruction every time. Sometimes it is, but that doesn't mean that it's going to end the world, right? It could actually help you grow. And that's what we're all about here. All right. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was helpful and informative. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'll put up the PDF file. It's probably going to be about 9 pages or so in the Patreon bonuses section. All right. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. Okay. Keep up the lifelong questing. Good luck, have fun, and peace.
I'm insane. I'm not even fit to stand trial.
That's right. We have hospitals to treat the mentally ill with compassion. But that's not where you're going. I arranged for you to get transferred to Arkham Asylum in Gotham. I still have some friends there. They're expecting you.